Welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. This is our second Hypercast, hopefully second of many. We've got so many interesting and amazing, talented people in this industry that we'd like to connect with and talk with on this show. Tonight, we've got Mr. Nikko Hurtado.
Thanks for joining us, Nikko.
Hello,
he's one of the preeminent realists right now in both oil paint and on skin. A lot of you are familiar with his tattoo work, but more recently he's been really taking his painting seriously. And because this show is often meant to focus on the idea of fine art in the tattoo world, he's a great guest for us to have because he's somebody who's taking his realism across the boundary of mediums. So we've put together a short intro for Nikko based on some very kind of fun archival footage. Let's start with that, and then we'd like to welcome our special guest.
You know, it's real inspirational, I think, for the people up here and the people watching. I mean, I don't do a lot of painting, so I took this opportunity to really learn and watch everybody and paint at the same time and kind of apply it. My name's Nikko Hurtado. I've been tattooing for close to 8 years now. I've been painting probably maybe 2 years, year and a half, tops, I'd say. I went really a lot bigger, man, than I ever have. Like, the painting's probably twice as big as anything I've ever done, but I figured, it was the situation I needed to challenge myself in and see what I could do, and see if I could even produce something that big under pressure. But as the weekend went on, just me personally, I've struggled with my piece a little bit here and there, you know what I mean? Making decisions, not really sure where I wanted to go with it. So that's been the hardest part for me, but that's just on my own thing, and but I've been inspired by everybody else, so I keep trying and keep doing it, when at home I probably would have just walked away.
Okay, Nikko, welcome to our show. You've been pretty much nonstop. I bet you've been on the same kind of crazy no-sleep schedule as we are.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you ever slept, Nikko. Do you ever sleep?
Yeah, I sleep. Luckily Joanne, she's been great. She helps me a lot, so she lets me sleep. She helps with the kids more,
That's great.
So you've really been working on this show pretty much nonstop for what, about 3 months?
Yeah, I took about 3 months off. I had a tattoo a few times here and there, but yeah, I took pretty much 3 months off just to work on this.
And the show, it's called Renati. Would you like to tell us about that title, what it means?
Yeah, because I'm my dad's from Mexico and my mom's Mexican American, so the word Renati is a Latin word, and so I figured, since I speak English, my parents are my dad's from Mexico, that everything comes from the Latin language, that I would use that word, and it just means reborn. So I figured from going from tattooing into this, fine art or just painting world, that I would, use that in order to say like a reborn, a rebirth. I really didn't have an idea to put a whole show together. I just like to paint people and figures, and I just had fun, so really that's just all it's about. It's just having fun and being reborn.
That's beautiful. Do you have a favorite piece that you did from the show, a personal favorite?
I mean, yeah, there always are favorites. There was two that went easier than the rest. There was a tattoo machine one with pearls. It's called Guns and Butter. And that was probably one of my favorite ones. And then I did one on a circle, and it was a girl with ram horns. And those two, because they went so easy as far as from start to end, it was quick, and I didn't run into a whole lot of problems where I was fighting it. It just felt more organic. Those are probably my favorite just because of that. But I love them all, I put time into them, so, they're all kind of like my little babies right now. You guys know how it is.
Yes. All your new paintings are beautiful. They're amazing.
Thank you.
What do you think makes the difference in terms of the paintings that you struggle with versus the ones that just fall out of your hand? What do you think it is that makes the difference?
I don't know. All the pieces I pretty much most of them I cut myself, like the wood, and I prep the boards and everything. And I don't know. I think it's maybe just taking the time with making my decisions when I paint rather than just rushing them. Because some of them, I'm just trying to get them in there so that way I can fix them and change them the way I want. And then some really taking a lot of time to make each decision with every, paint stroke I put down. So those ones I took a lot more time to make each decision and just made sure like I gave myself like 3 days to complete them or 4 days. And so it was like, okay, this is what I have to do. This is the time frame. And it just felt like it went a lot more smoothly. With other ones, I had other things in my head and maybe it wasn't as like, the thought wasn't there as much, I mean, I still love them, but it was a lot different.
Would you say that same analogy applies to tattooing and the way that you tattoo?
Yeah, the clearer my head is, the better it is. The more I notice, the more I focus before I start, like I guess like a premeditative thing, I feel better about it. I just think sometimes if I jump into it and don't have as much of a plan, it's easier to fail, so I need to be planned out more. Yeah.
I completely appreciate that, and I could see that parallel really beautifully between the painting and the tattooing, both of which you do very well.
Do you find that the painting gives you a little bit more room to not plan, or do you find that you really apply the same sort of standards of planning everything ahead that you would with a tattoo?
I mean, I try to plan ahead as much as I can, but there's certain pieces that, they change, like my son's, I was painting a portrait of my son and he had little horns on him and I was just having fun with it. But I just made it make more sense with his personality and just the things he had been talking to me about at the time. So I changed it, you know what I mean? Like I just added things and made it more fun. Sometimes it's just like making stuff up and not really being so perfect. The great thing about paint, and this is something from Shaw Barber that he told me, is, if it's dry, you can just wipe it off. So if you do something that you don't like, then you just take it off and you start over. It's not really as, not like tattoos, man. You make a decision, it's there forever. And that's the one thing I love about tattoos is because they're so honest. And like what you put is what you get. And so there's no changing it, faking it, or lying. It's just where you're at is where you're at. It's just when you look at it, it's honest. It's everything's there. People know if it's messed up or if you blew a line out or whatever. It's just a super honest thing to look at.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why people are so blown away by a great tattoo, almost more so than other art forms, is because of that, like, one chance kind of factor there.
Yeah, no, you definitely have to be on decisions. It's hard.
Nikko, how do you feel painting has influenced your tattooing, and has it changed your tattooing at all since you've been taking painting more seriously?
Yeah, I mean, painting has completely changed my tattooing. Decisions and colors I've used before. I mean, I look at my old work years ago, and I kind of like, I guess the only way I can say it is you fake it to make it, you know what I mean? So I pretty much just try to copy photos and try to do what I was doing, but I didn't really have much of an understanding, and I've learned as I've done it and really sought out for knowledge. And just painting with people that I've painted with, it's like reverse engineered what I was doing, what I was trying to do. And so, yeah, now I have more of an understanding of what I'm trying to do. And the funny thing is my tattoo palette is a lot similar to my painting palette. And I try to keep those the same so that way when I go back and forth, it's not any different, So that way I know exactly the decisions I'm making and colors I'm making and the theories I'm using, between light and shadow and things like that. So that way I can create a 3-dimensional piece. And so, yeah, I think it's helped a lot.
Well, that 3-dimensional effect, I mean, that's something that, everyone's blown away by how lifelike you make things. And I think a lot of that is in that sense of dimension. Where does that come from? How do you get that, to the casual listener, tattoo artists who are struggling to get more life and volume and sense of actually being there in front of you into their work, you do this better than anybody.
Thanks, man. Well, I mean, the thing, I think what I picked up from you a lot, like looking at your work and just loving your work, is your sense between, shadow and light and like the contrast between like cool and warms and things like that. And that's where paintings kind of help me. I have like where you like use transparents and opaques. So like use your transparents in your shadows and your opaques and light, and the same way you would use, your cools and warms. Just using that contrast in tattoos really helps create more of a 3-dimensional image and really kind of manipulates the eye. So I try to apply that to the portrait stuff because, everything has light and everything has shadow. So really trying to separate those two and, make them work together, but separating them also.
So you're actually working the translucent versus opaque factor as much as you are the light and dark.
Yeah. With painting, for sure. It's a little more difficult with tattooing, but the theory that I'm using is there, and the way my color palette's set up is definitely there too. So that's kind of the route I'm trying to go. I definitely see the purpose and in it. I think it creates more structure a little bit too, and it kind of helps you through things and better decisions.
Nikko, I'm curious about your background. Did you always draw and paint? I mean, not paint, but did you always do portraits before you got into tattooing? Because it seems like you're such a natural with interpreting form and shape and representing it realistically.
And the human likeness.
Yeah,
as well.
we're just blown away by your skills.
I think, thank you. I think, no, I mean, when I did draw as a kid or just throughout my teenage years, I always like to draw faces. I guess the way I see it is most people are connected to that. We see faces all day. We look at each other all day, all the time. And I just think that if you can make someone believe that you're looking at a face or you're looking at somebody, I think it's pretty cool. You know what I mean? I love when I see a painting or a drawing and it's done to a place, even if it's not fully rendered, but you feel like it's a person or there's something there. I think that's pretty immense, and I'm pretty into that. So I think that's just naturally where I wanted to go, and I think that's when I go to galleries and stuff, that's naturally what I want to see too. So I'm just real familiar with that. That's what I like.
That's cool. It shows in your work. It really does look like a lot of the portraits you do are looking back at you.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've always been blown away with by Sean's work. He's got this enormous amount of experience. But the presence of the person, it's right up there. They actually rise up out of the plane of the canvas, and they're in the room with you.
I would say like you're connecting to their soul. There's an energy in the expression that's beyond an interpretation. It's it's subtle, but it really moves you when you capture it.
Yeah, I do believe that with Sean's work also. I remember he did a show here in LA with a bunch of LA tattooers, and I remember when I walked in, just the energy and the emotion created from the tattooers that he painted. I remember it struck me so hard. I felt emotional. Like I could almost have tears because of how strong the presence of each painting was. And, some of the people I knew, so it felt like them. Like I felt like I was around them. And I think I could feel his energy in the pieces too, that he put so much into them, and he really cared about it. So he really it really was powerful,
I was seeing him finishing up a piece, a small portrait of somebody we know, and he very seriously said, "Yeah, you can really see the pain in his eyes." And I think I realized at that moment that Sean isn't just painting; he's kind of stepping into the person that he's painting in a way that I think is not something that we can all do, and so he's not just painting a picture of a person. I think that he's expressing something that is beneath that picture, that's a lot bigger than that.
It's sort of like how an actor prepares for a role.
Yeah.
A really good actor prepares for a role by becoming that person. So you're tapping into the essence and pulling it out. And I think you do that with your tattoos and paintings.
That's a great analogy.
And Sean clearly does that with his paintings. He's soulful, and I think his heart's in it. And I think that also counts a lot too for your intention.
Yeah, do you ever find that when you're doing a portrait with a strong facial expression on it, that you'll find yourself sometimes with that expression sort of spontaneously forming on your face? That ever happened to you?
That's definitely one of the things I do, or I think about, or when I see a picture of somebody, even just say like Chet's work, you look at those images and he captures whatever creature he's creating, but you tend to find yourself making that expression or thinking of what they would sound like, and it's the same thing when you look at a picture, a photo of a person you never met, or, you try to find that essence of what they're doing, who are they, why are they doing that, or whatever, so definitely you ask questions and try to answer those. And that's definitely what I think a great portrait painter or a portrait artist or whoever, they're definitely trying to analyze their subject more than just looking at technical, perfection. You know what I mean? You can have all the values and structures and, colors right, but if you don't have that little bit of energy or maybe the pain, like you said, in the eyes, it loses itself. It becomes still. You know, sometimes it needs just that energy put in, that thought. You know, maybe even just the thought of it helps out. You know, but I think those people like Sean definitely, you can see it. You know.
That's probably why people collect tattoos of that nature, because they want to remember that essence, and they go to the people like you that can really capture something beyond just a replication, but there's more to it than that. I mean, the way that you tattoo portraits and realism is just like, it's unbelievable. I mean, I could understand why it's in such demand, because it's really, really amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know how many good portrait tattooers I see right now, and how much is out there, and it's cool to see people really trying to grab that essence. And there is tattoos that I see once in a while that are like, man, they just hit the nail on the head so perfect, and it's astonishing what's being done in tattoo today, and I'm blown away by it. Yeah, really humbled by it too.
Who are some of the other artists doing realism that have really, you know, in any medium, they've really stood out to you recently?
I mean, it's crazy. Well, I mean, of course, you know, Carlos Rojas that works with me. His tattoos recently have been astonishing. You know, he's been working really hard, and I see him working really hard for what he, you know, just to get better at it. And I really like admire that. And like Dimitri Samoan. There's a lot of really great Europeans, but even people down to people that I've never even heard their names. Like there was a guy named, I think, like Q Tattoo or something like that. He's from Canada, and he did this Mike Tyson, and it was incredible. You know what I mean? And but it's crazy because I see these things from people that it's like random. You're just like, whoa, man, where's that person come from? You're like, it's insane, but it's cool. You know, I'm really excited to see what happens.
Yeah, you know, one of the big changes, you know, or part of the big change is, you know, back in the day, I mean, you know, I've been tattooing 25 years, and if you saw a piece that stood out, you'd be like, who is this person? You would get to know who they are. Everybody would get to know who they are. There would be a new, like, big thing in the scene. But now it's like, all you have to do is flip open a magazine. You're going to see 10 names you've never heard of before that are doing work that it just makes you stop in your tracks.
Yeah, it's
huge.
pretty crazy. It is huge. Yeah, it's crazy. But
It's nice to be part of this revolution.
Is there anything else that you wanted to say about your? Let's talk about your show a little bit before we actually take any audience questions. You've got this stuff on display right now, and then it's moving to a museum type space, right? You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, the first part of it was called the Beyond Eden Art Show, and it was at the LA Municipal Art Museum or Art Gallery or whatever. And it's I think it's a funded gallery by the state of California, and these 4 galleries come together from Southern California and show the artwork from people that show in their galleries. So when Gary from Copro asked me to do the show last year, he asked me if I would like to do the Beyond Eden show, and so that's what just happened. And it was just a 2-day thing. It was a Saturday and Sunday, and it was pretty much like a preview of what me and Chet did. And then next week, not this weekend, but the 26th of October is the actual like Renati art show and the Ego Death show for Chet. And that should be pretty interesting because Chet got this whole like fake funeral thing that he's gonna do, and it should be really interesting. So I'm excited to see that, and I'm excited to see because I seen my paintings on one wall. But it'll be cool to see my paintings surrounding me on 4 walls. So I'm excited about that, you know, because I've been working hard on it, you know.
It shows.
Have you done, in the course of doing this show, do you think you've done, I mean, you've been painting since, 2008, right? Would you say you've done as much work now as you have in the previous, you know, couple of years combined, or has your output been pretty steady?
Like, what do you mean? Oh, my paints? I think that, I mean, I painted when I could. I would take a week off here and there and maybe try to complete a painting. And, you know, a painting usually takes me anywhere between like 2 to 5, 6 days, depending on size. Unless it's really big, then it's a couple weeks or something. But, yeah, I mean, most of the painting stuff I did was with Michael Husser, and it was like Alla Prima, it was from life. So I did a lot of that, you know, and that's probably one of my favorite things to do because I'm not good at it, and it's so like frustrating, and it's you know, it teaches you humility, and it's super honest like tattooing. like where you're at is where you're at. Like you can't fake that. Like you're only as good as it shows at the end. And so that's probably what I've done the most of, like within the last whatever time I've been painting. But this has been a big teaching learning curve because I got to paint every day for, pretty much 2 months straight, 2.5 months. And it's been interesting, it's been cool. And I'm excited to paint more and do larger pieces, but I am also excited to get back to tattooing because that's a hard thing because tattooing gives me so much, and I'm really grateful for it. Like I truly love tattooing, and people ask me, "Oh, so are you going to keep tattooing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course. Like I'm never going to stop. It's part of me, And I miss it. I miss what it gives me, and I miss doing it, and I want to do both for a long time to come."
There was a question that Michele and I wanted to ask you, and this is something that doesn't often come up in these kinds of conversations, but the paintings themselves, what do they mean? What are you painting about?
I mean, do you want to speak about one in particular? Or okay, I'll talk about tattooing. There's a large one I did. It was the largest one I did, and it's called Dermographic Illumination. If you were to look at it up close, the girl, it's a naked figure, and she's standing on Sailor Jerry traditional flash. And so it's pretty much like standing on traditions of tattooing. I really believe in where tattooings come from. I really respect it. I respect the traditions of tattooing, even though I believe in the future of it too. So yeah, she's standing on traditions, and then she has this like filigree-esque, like, it could be any kind of thing looked at like tribal or lettering or whatever. It's like this scrolling that's going through her body. And as it goes up to her top of her arm where she's holding like a Mickey Sharp's microdial, it's like illuminating, it's glowing. And as it comes closer to that, the tattoo comes alive and kind of spins off. And it reminds me, like the painting reminds me of a lot of different tattooers. There's the portrait aspect and the realistic aspect. There's the tribal looking aspect. There's the traditional aspect. There's the guy Aitchison aspect. I sent you a picture and it reminded me of like if you and Carlos Torres had a baby. It was like this really so it was cool. But yeah, so that just has to do with my respect to tattooing. I wanted to do something for that. And like the other one, Guns and Butter, that was from a movie called Baby Boy. It's this movie I watched. But he talks about the guns and butter of like what guns and butter is. And what it is like the guns are things that appreciate, like, real estate and what you invest into things and, things that make you money and things that make you worth something later in life or whatever, like tattooing is. And the butter is everything that you get with it, like all the superficial things, all the things that like money and just this like glitz and, these superficial things that you get. So that's why I named it Guns and Butter. He explains it in the movie, but it fit perfect because of the cliche saying, tattoo gun. And so I also played off of that too. So yeah, that piece had a lot of meaning for me too. So yeah, every piece has meaning. They're all different, but definitely I try to. Sometimes I think it through before. Sometimes I'm doing it and I'm just thinking about it the whole time, and it just kind of comes out that way where you change it and stuff. So yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing your next tattoos based on all this painting activity. I'm curious to see where you go next.
Me too.
Well, hey Gabe, would you like to, or do we have any questions?
Hey, how goes it? Yeah, we've got a pretty active chat room here, so people that are catching it live from all over the world. We've got Malaysia, Germany, all over the United States and Puerto Rico. So let me get started here. Nikko, do you have a goal or a vision to your work? Or do you focus on the client's intentions more?
I do like both, I do like the combination of both. Some days, I like to just make my clients as happy as I can, do what they want. But when people give me the opportunity to do something creative, I'm more than happy to do that and have fun with it. So it depends. Like with tattooing, I definitely think it's a collaboration between me and my client. And with the painting stuff, it's just all me. So yeah, the future for my work, I just want to keep working hard. I think that's, I don't really have a vision. Of course, everybody knows where they want to go, but I'm just trying to do the best I can.
A lot of tattooers have this, wish, and of course, it's a great wish to be able to specialize and have something that people just ask you to do. Once you get into that position, though, I find it's that much more valuable when people throw you a challenge every now and then, and you know, they don't just say, "Oh, do your thing," but you actually still have to appeal to their needs, because that's how we stretch ourselves.
You know, it's true, because there's sometimes, man, I get so frustrated with my client where it's like they want something different, and you're just like, oh man, I wouldn't do it that way. And then in the end, you're like, man, they were right. You know, they're not always right, but you know, you got to sit back and be like, dang, I was happier with the way it turned out that with their vision. You know, so it definitely helps out.
It really is a collaboration that pushes us as artists to like go to places we wouldn't normally go with the influence of our clients. I have a question. I know there's more questions to be asked, but I have a question for Nikko. What's your fantasy tattoo? Like right now, if you could just do the ultimate tattoo in your imagination that you haven't done yet, what is it?
Like the ultimate tattoo, I mean, I would like to start working bigger. I've started a few pieces recently, and I just have a different vision of what I how I want to do my work. You know, I love Jeff's work, Jeff Gogwe and Shige, and you know the large scale stuff they do, and I want to kind of do some stuff that is more the way I do my work, but definitely with some influences from other people. You know, as far as like the contrast between foreground and background, and you know, just using more things to change it up. So I know that'll be coming. You know, I think pushing the limits of that stuff is cool. And I just like to do movie portraits. I mean, to me, it's fun, man. I'm a movie dork. I love movies, and we watch movies here at the shop all day when we tattoo. And you know, I just love to do movie portraits. So anybody that wants one, hit me up.
I'm sure you'll get hit up. More questions, Gabe?
Yes. Okay. So we have one here. How do you ever get into artistic funks? And maybe do you have any suggestions on how to curb getting out of the funk?
Yeah, this has been an interesting road because, you know, I was tattooing so much before I got into this painting thing, and I think I was getting a little bit tired, and I was a little bit, how would you say, ungrateful, you know, and I think that doing this kind of taught me a little bit to be grateful for tattooing and things like that. So changing it up sometimes helps. With painting right now, you know, it is hard to make yourself motivated, but sometimes you just got to sit down and do it and just do something. Like, you don't, you know, if you sit around and worry like, man, I'm in a funk, or man, you know, I'm not feeling good about this. Sometimes just do something, you know, artistic, or and push yourself through that. And sometimes you end up doing something that you actually like or is interesting, and you come out of it, you know. So I always hit funks. I mean, it's been a battle this whole time, you know, but it's a good thing.
Have you found that most projects have like sort of a hump somewhere in them that you have to push past?
Oh, of course. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. This has been hard. I mean, I have so much more respect. I did this too because I don't think any time in my life I could have really done this where I could have just done something that makes me no money for 3 months. You know what I mean? So it was like, you're not making any money, you know, and it's kind of crazy, and you're watching what you're spending, and, you know, you're just being careful. And it was good because it gave me a little bit of just respect for when I do work in tattooing, and also respect for artists that's all they do is just art, you know, like painting. Man, it's a hard road, you know, it's a scary road. You know, I have a lot of respect for people like that.
Well, that actually leads into the next question real quick. Sorry to interject. One of the questions is, they hear that running solo shows is extremely expensive, and do you feel like it's worth it?
It depends on what you say what's worth it. If you're talking about compensation and money, no, it's not. I'm gonna make more money tattooing. But I never even did tattooing because it was to make money. As far as where tattooing has gone and just the things I've experienced with tattooing, that's all been like kind of mind-blowing because I never knew that what things like this, like even what we're doing right now, was even out there for tattooing. You know, but as far as like the learning and putting your heart on the line and putting something into something that, like changing the direction just for a little bit, it was definitely worth it. And even if I were to sell none of the pieces, you know, it's a huge experience, and nothing good comes without taking a chance, you know, and that's pretty much what I just did. And It's crazy. But yeah, it's definitely worth it. But for money, probably not. I mean, for a businessman, it probably wouldn't be the smartest decision, but that's what you work hard for and save for, and to take chances, and try to create opportunity.
Of course, if you stretch yourself as an artist, you continue to increase your value as a tattoo artist. And so, it's got a long-term, benefit there as well that you can't necessarily measure.
Yeah, invested. It's invested. So definitely investing in myself.
Investing into the bank of art.
And you're building your image as an artist first who happens to tattoo. And when people look at the work you did, they say an artist did this. And I think that gives it even more of a prestigious edge. And the sacrifice that you make that's not monetary, it comes back to you with heart and effort.
Yeah, I tried hard. It's a cool experience to do this right now. I don't know. To me, it's a big deal because I feel like it's a hard thing to do, is just to give up what you love doing and gives you so much every day. Like tattooing. And I'm going back to it in 2 weeks, so I'm excited. But yeah, I'm going to go to the New Orleans Voodoo Tattoo Convention, and I have appointments open. I didn't book anything yet, but I'll be there in the weekend of Halloween, and I'm really excited. So.
Yeah, New Orleans is fun Halloween.
We've done that show a few times.
Really? Is it cool?
Yeah, it's fun, especially being out and about.
Try to get out of the hotel.
Yeah, no, I'm staying on. Yeah, I'll be staying on like the main area, so I'm excited. Me and Joanna are gonna go, and it should be cool. So yeah.
All right. Any more questions?
Oh yeah, we've got a ton. So here a couple have come in about. Well, here's one. Do you think that a self-taught artist could be good as one that is not self-taught, which I suppose means, and somebody else maybe rephrased it, how much of your knowledge is from studying books and learning, how much has come from trial and error?
Okay, so I'm probably going to say some things that probably aren't that good, but especially because my daughter's getting older and she's going to school and asks me how I did in school. But, unfortunately, I never graduated high school. I kind of had a rough upbringing, and I never went to college. I took some college classes at Art Center during high school, and but other than that, that's all I've taken. I've taken classes from, I took Aitchison's seminar. I've taken Sean Barber's workshop. I've taken a lot of stuff. Recently, I took a Casey Bob painting workshop. It was a week long. You don't necessarily have to go to school. It definitely does help. Helps with opening doors and meeting people, and also being around other artists that are driven. But if you surround yourself with people that are driven and put yourself in those situations where you're learning, you can accomplish anything you want. It's just that's the great thing about art, is that if you work hard at it and you try to understand it, it's a visual language, and you just got to learn how to do that.
Yeah, you could look up tutorial videos on YouTube, and you would probably find such a wealth of material there that you could learn as much as you could in school. It's just a matter of how much you apply yourself.
Yeah, it's the want. It's wanting to do better, and it's wanting to learn, and I think that's what you'll find a way. So yeah.
All right, Gabe.
Being a predominant color tattoo artist, how has black and gray played a part in your work?
I think black and gray is a tremendous part of it. Black and gray is like the foundation of everything. I think it's based off of value, dark to light, and I think that if you don't have that fundamental of black to white, it'll show in your color work, and you definitely need that in your color work to show your depth and volume and things like that. So I do a lot of black and gray. I actually do more black and gray recently than I do color, and it's probably because there's so many good color tattooers. But yeah, it's just it's been fun. I love it. I love black and gray, and sometimes it's nice to switch gears. So yeah, I think it's important, and I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, I also think that a color tattoo should look good in a black and white photo. That's actually
the Watson test.
The Watson test, yes. It's a way of kind of confirming that your piece has got enough clear contrast and alternation of dark and light.
If you take any tattoo and you put it as a black and white piece, if it doesn't read clearly, it's probably not a successful color tattoo. He told me that a long time ago, but it's based off of Watson's observations, so we call it the Watson test.
Yeah,
Actually,
it's
I
great.
argued against Watson about this. I was like, no, put contrasting enough colors in it. But now I totally agree with him that value is first and foremost. Color is kind of like the icing on top of that.
Do you do a black and gray foundation under your tattooing, or do you just kind of go work as you go with values?
No, I don't. I don't do a black and gray foundation, but I do tend to use a lot more black lately. I think over the years, I just tend to go that way. I actually like to boost the contrast of the tattoo. I think I just like the way it reads better. I think it just reads better to the eye. And when it heals, because when tattoos heal, they always get like, if it's real white and real black, when it heals, it gets a little bit, it meets in the middle. So just because that skin films over it. So I really try to boost that contrast. I think any kind of tattoo you do, I think it's worth it just because if you like the contrast, it comes back and it still has a little bit of that, it doesn't lose. If you don't put enough in it, sometimes it comes back and it kind of gets a little flatter and you have to go back into it and make it the way you want it.
Let's take one more. That would be great to get on with those critiques.
Ah, fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what we have here then is, let's see, well, here, we'll open this can of worms briefly. What do you guys think of all the tattoo shows that they have on now, where sometimes they're showing unrealistic results in tattooing?
As far as the tattoo shows go, I think any type of reality TV is, you just can't read into it too much. I think it's drama and it's made for entertainment, and I think that that people on there are doing the best they can. They're just trying to get their foot into somewhere. Unfortunately, tattooers don't really have that much say in it. It's more the production and whatever the networks want. But I don't know. I don't really look into it too much. If you're watching it and getting pissed off and overanalyzing it, it's not even
Don't
meant
watch
for
it.
that. It's just entertainment. You know what I mean? You should just watch it for the drama, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, they're here to stay. Obviously, they've been around, and either enjoy it and watch it, or don't watch it and whatever. There's nothing I mean, you can boycott it if it's something that you don't like as an industry, but other than that, I mean, it's crazy to me to see the dynamic of this because I remember when TV shows first started, it was looked frowned upon, like the Tattoo Wars time or even that, you know what I mean, Guy? Like, it was frowned upon for people to be on TV for tattoos, but now everybody's running up and signing up for these competitions, and it's like, whoa, like, how the dynamic has changed in such a short amount of time, but hey, it is what it is. You got to roll with the times, roll with the punches.
Well,
That's well said. Roll with the times.
Yes.
I'd like to add one little thing to it. Is that to me, from my perspective, it seems like the television exposure for tattoo artists has helped like everyday people be comfortable getting larger scale work. So for me, like a lot of my clients are getting large scale work and they're more socially accepted at work. And it's becoming more of a thing where it's not just rock stars and other people that might have been associated with the only people who had tattoos back in the day. Now it's like everyday people getting large scale work. And I feel like the television shows have helped bring that into people's lives in a way that they can be more comfortable with the idea of getting tattooed and where the artists are coming from. That's been my experience with it on a positive note.
Yeah, I think people can now envision themselves walking into a shop and getting tattooed, where before it was something they couldn't even visualize at all.
Feels a little less taboo, and I mean, some people are upset about it losing its mystique, but I like it because my clients are getting larger scale work. I feel like because they're more socially accepted in society, they're more willing to do it, and elevates all of us in terms of getting to do larger scale work and more prominent tattoos on people for the better, of course, whatever that is.
Yeah, people have different ideas of what that might be, but I think that most shop owners would agree that it's been good for business. And I think that the public has a better idea of what a good tattoo is. So how could that possibly be a bad thing?
Yeah, for sure. And look at how many good tattooers there is. I'm sure a lot of them have gotten into it within the last 10 years. And, they were probably great artists and see the potential. And now look what they're doing, and I think it's a great thing.
So I guess we're ready to start with some critiques
Now we're looking at the seal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very well done. Nikko, I want to hear what you have to say. You're the realist.
Yeah, look at those eyes.
This is from Matt Driscoll, who did the tattoo.
First of all, it's a great tattoo, and with all these tattoos I look through, I'd like to say something before we even critique them. It's pretty much splitting hairs. They can always be better. Anything can always be better, but they're all pretty great, And I'm pretty blown away because it's like, man, how do you even say anything's wrong? Because if I seen that in the street, I'd be like, that's a great tattoo, you know. But you know, I think the same thing with this piece. Like I said, I like to see contrast. Even if you don't put a whole lot of black in it, you can add, you know, a darker value of it. You know, just say the blue in the back of the head. Maybe on one side where it's blue on one side. That's the one we're looking at, right? The blue seal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where it's blue on one side, maybe he could have boosted that blue on the outside of it, like the actual like background, and made it a lot darker. You know, and then as it slowly comes over to the opposite side, get a gradation of lighter value. You know, it would have created a little bit more depth and a little bit more. It just would have looked a little bit more interesting. You know.
Yeah,
But
I think it would have been nice to some kind of background. You know, there's a little bit under that clump of whiskers there, and it kind of, I think, because it's the only place in the tattoo that has that, it sort of stands out. Like when I blur my eyes, it just seems like it throws the balance of the whole thing off. Might have been nice to see just a little bit more of that in a couple other places around it.
It seems like the background blue and the blue in the face are the same value, so they kind of merge. And if, like Nikko was saying, the background was darker, the face would pop forward more, from my perspective of it.
I wanted to comment on the dimension of this, how it just pokes straight
beautiful.
forward. You know, the way that the light values were used so selectively. I'm also just really blown away by the gloss effect in those eyes. That's somebody who's really looking at their reference and pulling out just the right things.
The eyes are really cool. Okay, great. I think Nikko should start every one of these because they're so geared towards what he does in terms of critique.
Yeah, this one you need to zoom in a little bit.
this is like personal reference because this tattoo is a great tattoo. It's a beautiful tattoo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's done super well. For myself, you know, just tattooing, what I was always taught and what I've always learned is just the more pigment and the more saturation of the color, you know, the better it'll last and the better it'll be, a little more value. It'd be cool to see a little bit of darker, like how it's dark underneath the eyelids, maybe a little bit darker under the nose, because there's so much dark underneath the chin too. And just like a solid, I don't know if this is a solid tattoo, but it doesn't look like it to me. It looks like it's like how you would work black and gray. It's super realistic, beautiful piece, but personally, this would be like the halfway mark. You know what I mean? Like if you were going to lay out the tattoo and kind of lay the foundation, then you would go back maybe a next sitting and make it full saturated. But it's all preference.
I see it as being a little bit sparse. I would agree on that. My question for you is, since you've got so much experience with this, look at the colors in the forehead. Now, of course, it's all this delicate, beautiful kind of modeling. But how do you think that'll hold up?
I think those things will be the first things to go. You know, color seems to lighten up a lot over time, and you know, a lot different than black and gray. And I do think if you make decisions like this, you need more structure. First of all, with some darker contrasts. If you're just going to leave a lot of the skin open, which is fine, but you have to know that those real light colors are probably going to get a little patchy and a little bit light over time. It's going to look completely different. But that's what tattoos do. They age, you know. But
Yep.
I think it's an awesome tattoo. You know,
It's beautiful. I have a question for you because you do so many portraits. What do you think about white? There's a lot of people who say white you might as well not use it because it's not going to stay in the skin. But I rely heavily on it, and it seems like that portrait does. A lot of your work does. What are your thoughts on white?
I think I mean, it's crazy because I've been doing these color portraits with coils most of my career, which was a lot more difficult. Like the difficult level of that was crazy. And now with the rotaries, it's way different. Like that's why tattoos look so crazy. The playing field is leveled. You know what I mean? Like what you can envision and what you can do is instantly what you can put down. So I pretty much think the pigment packing is a lot different. It's a lot more solid. A lot of the new machines like the Injecto or the Hawk, man, those things get those tattoos super solid. And yeah, I mean, there's no question about the white now with those because it's just like in there. You know what I mean? Like I've seen tattoos even on dark skin look crazy. You know, so and these are healed ones that I've seen. You know,
Are there any drawbacks that you found with using machines like that? Now that you've pretty much made the switch completely,
Are they as fast? Would you say that rotaries are as fast as coils?
You know, with the way the Injecta and that stuff has been going for my stuff, I've been really happy with the results. Even because I haven't tattooed in a few months, but just with the healing, just the needle cartridge, that whole thing, that micro shake that you were talking about, Guy, it's just, there's none, you know, it's not even there. And so just the healing's been better. The actual pigment, like saturation in the skin is crazy. And just, you know, what's funny is I haven't done a whole lot of tattoos that I'm like, yeah, really into that. Like I used them for a short time, but the ones that I did, I'm really happy with. And when I look back at the work I was doing even a year ago, I can see the difference because of the machinery. And it's kind of crazy to me, you know. Definitely it's a crazy time in tattooing because these machines are giving people the opportunity to whatever you can draw is exactly what you can put down. It's definitely.
Hey, I'm looking at this piece.
Yeah.
It's the gray-haired guy with the machete. There's a lot of really interesting things in this
Especially
tattoo.
the cheek area.
I'll tell you what really stands out, and this is something that, you know, I try to do it in biomech tattoos, is the use of cast shadows in this piece.
Back to Michele.
There's not just the strong shadow like off to the left of the nose, but you've got that little bit of shadow like being cast by the cheek, just, you know, into the area above the mustache there, and you've got those angled shadows, you know, streaking across the forehead, you know, diagonally. I just think that brings this thing to life so much. It's not an effect you see used this effectively very often. At the same time, I think this overall tattoo is a little bit light, you know, or a little bit too consistent in value from corner to corner. It'd be nice to see a couple parts of it, like, you know, maybe the upper area of the forehead actually a little more, you know, a little lighter and then a little bit darker, you know, beneath the nose, under the chin, maybe down below the face a little bit. I think that just across, you know, from one corner of the tattoo to the other, it could use a little more contrast. But like you're saying, that's splitting hair.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tattoo. I think I know who this artist is, and a lot of his work looks similar like this. And this isn't anything like his work is, as far as like the rendering and the tattoos itself, they're immaculate. They're beautiful. But I do see that there definitely is a need for contrast with that, with this one. And I do think that if it had that, it would take it from being a great, like it's already great, to being like, wow, like mind blowing, you know, because of if it had them darks, you know, and just where the cast shadows lie, even if those were a little darker, just that contrast would make it incredible.
You know, Nikko, I'm just like listening to what you're saying, thinking about your tattoos and looking at this. I would say that what makes you excel beyond like just the norm is the fact that your imagination can heighten those things from a reference, and other people might just look at the reference and interpret literally what they see. They don't know how to like enhance those contrast levels.
Or they're afraid to make changes without
they're afraid to change it
without losing the likeness.
That's what sets you apart, I think, is that you see that naturally, amongst other things, of course.
And I think that also comes like, thank you. I mean, I just see my work as, you know, how it is. You guys see your work how it is, or, you know, you just always pick apart. But
right.
I do think a thing that could help people is practicing. You know, the great thing about portraits and things like this is that you can practice. Like you can draw it before, you can, you know, even the life drawing that I've been doing, like it helps you. It helps you with these things because you can pull from outside of tattooing or somewhere else and then bring it back. And, you know, a lot of that has to do with even just, you know, the way you do your models and you take reference photos, and you know, when you can see things and walk around and understand them more, then you can apply that when you're doing it, you know, so you have more thought about it, you know what it looks like in real life, and you can apply that to your ability while you're tattooing. So I think that
you have a memory of repetition. You have a memory of repetition based on experience, and that's how you get better.
Gabe says he's got another 8 questions.
It's your show.
Okay,
Let's
we
go
can
ahead.
go overtime. This is overtime. We'll call it overtime. Who's keeping track?
Yeah, I'm sure people don't care.
Phil is waiting to get tattooed. That's
Yeah.
not it.
Yeah.
Guy's got a back piece
You know what?
waiting. So there's a shout out to Phil Robertson.
Yes, thank you, Phil, for being so patient.
He's-
This has been a long day of
He's in the
waiting.
studio waiting for his back piece.
But yeah, we've got time for some more questions. We'd love to hear them.
When should a tattoo artist feel comfortable enough to reach beyond their comfort zone on a client's skin? And
Question. It's a good question.
Well, you know, the first thing to do is reach beyond your comfort zone on something else, you know, and make it comfortable. And so then by the time you actually take it to that client skin, it's not quite so far out of your comfort zone. There are things you can do to make your experiments less risky, for sure. But you should always be, willing to work at least a little bit, like at the outer envelope of your comfort zone. Don't just work smack dab in the middle of it, because you'll just do the same tattoo over and over.
The next one is, and this is probably for everybody, any more DVDs in the works? And are there any seminars in the Midwest?
Yeah, I do have another DVD that I've been working on, but I haven't had time to complete it or anything, so that should be coming out. It's just a straight up portrait DVD, just normal, just skin tones, not any trippy things or Day of the Dead, or it's just straightforward, things, and so that'll be coming out, and then it's pretty much it. Seminars, things like that. I've done the same seminar over and over, but I'd like to kind of revamp that and kind of do some new stuff and, stuff I've learned too since then. So hopefully.
Yeah, I've got a double DVD set in the works, mere weeks from being ready for release. And this is all on basically close-up look at application. And a lot of the focus is on tightening, which specifically is about going back into your tattoo with the liner after you've done your work with your Magnum or whatever, and taking it to the next level using techniques kind of like you would with a colored pencil. So this is going to be a 2-disc set. There's about 5 hours of material on there. And you can find it at tattooeducation.com. Now, one of the things we're going to be doing is, a lot of you, I'm sure, have noticed that DVDs are sort of on their way out. And we're going to be offering a lot more classes in a straightforward streamable format, which is actually more convenient. You could watch it from your phone anytime you wanted, not have to worry about carrying a disc around and it starts to skip after a while.
So stay tuned.
Yes. I do want to mention a seminar. I'll be having a Reinventing the Tattoo seminar here at our location in Southern Illinois in April. This is going to be available via webcast, but we're also going to be, we'll have room for, I think, up to 25 people here. I'd like to also mention something that I'll be doing with Jeff Gogway in February. Jeff and I will be doing a collaborative tattoo, webcasting that. I'll be doing a tattoo webinar during that visit, and he'll be doing one as well where he's actually going to be tattooing my hand.
And it'll be live, so all you guys can watch it.
The next question is from Brazil. Hello, I've been tattooing for some years and want to start traveling around the world tattooing. Do you have any advice?
Well, get to know more people in the industry. Go to conventions. That's a great place to do it. You need to get to know people. You can network online. There's a lot you can accomplish that way, but there's nothing that beats the face-to-face thing that happens at tattoo events.
And the inspiration from other people working that are hungry to push the ink further.
Make yourself a really good portfolio before you go. Make it as up-to-date as possible. Make it short, like 12 good photos of your very best work, and introduce yourself. Be shameless and be bold and talk to people who you think are doing great work. And before you know it, you'll have some guest spot offers, and you'll have places that you can go and visit. It's a way to get started, but you have to start. You have to take that first step by getting out there.
That's true.
Nikko, how did you do all of your networking?
I would say just the same thing you were saying. Just put yourself out there and start talking to people via the internet, and just put your work out there. Make sure you work hard and that you're doing the best you can with your work. And, like-minded people will gravitate towards each other. And, you get the opportunity to go to a convention, or you want to go to a certain one. I would definitely pick out one where people you admire or people that you've talked to are at, and go meet them. And yeah, opportunity comes from there, and just really putting yourself out there. It's vulnerable, but it's worth it.
It's well said.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
This is maybe a good one to close with. Do you have any preferences between tattooing or painting?
I prefer both. They balance each other out. I need both. So they both make me happy, but they both burn me out. So I need to go back and forth for sure.
Yeah, it's a relationship between the two. I could never choose one or the other because they're part of each other. That's the way I've always looked at it. And the things that I do off skin just make me better at things I do on skin. Working with clients and the challenges that we take on as tattooists just broadens who you are as an artist across the board. So I can't imagine not having the relationship. It's a creative volley.
I agree with Nikko, what he said. They're equally are inspiring and burn you out. So it's nice to go between the two and use them as springboards to breathe energy back into the other medium that's waiting for you. I found recently I did a painting from my interstate painting. I did it as a tattoo, and it was amazing. It was like I flew through the tattoo. I didn't have to think about it, and it turned out exactly how I wanted it to because I had done all the thinking as a painter. And I thought to myself, wow, if I had more time, I would love to do more tattoos from paintings because just the synergy between the two are so supportive of each other. So they're equally appreciated and equally frustrating.
You know, we've always tried to encourage tattooers who are trying to learn and expand what their capabilities are. Pick up another medium. You know, it's not to overcomplicate your life. It's not to become, you know, a famous artist or have a solo show. Although, you know, it's amazing to see, you know, it is possible for tattooists to reach that kind of status. But it's to grow. It's to make yourself a better artist. And you might produce some nice paintings in the process. You might end up having clients that buy a few of them. But the real reason for picking up another medium is to just be a better artist. And there's no technical trick, no machine, none of those things are going to improve your tattooing as much as just being a better artist. Repetition
and observation.
Yep.
Nikko, I want to thank you for showing up for this interview. You're really an amazing artist and a very humble guy, and we're very honored that you could come join us. And amazing work you're doing, and I wish you the best of luck with the big opening later this month.
How long will your show be up for, Nikko?
It'll be up for a month, so it'll be cool. Yeah, it's for 1 month, you know. And I'd like to say thank you to you guys, you know, Michele, Guy, TattooNOW. You know, I really appreciate just being able to talk, and you know, I'm super honored. You know, I've just been stuck in my little hole here, just doing what I'm doing, and I'm super appreciative, is what I'm trying to say. So thank you.
Right on, man.
We love your work, and we can't wait to come visit you and have a barbecue.
Yeah.
I said that the last show, but we like everyone we've talked to so far.
No, you guys are, you know, my place is always open to you guys. So
The great tattoo barbecue.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I'll be looking for your new stuff on Instagram as always.
Yeah, we can't wait to see your next tattoos and your next paintings, and just love what you're doing. You're doing beautiful work.
Thank you, and
Thank you.
versa. Have a good night, guys. Thank you for having me again.
You too. Have a great night.
See you guys around.
All right,
See you
everyone,
too.
tune in on the 27th. Sunday the 27th of this month, we'll be interviewing Russ Abbott, and we may have some other special guests. And we'll be talking about his new book and his upcoming DVD and fine art in the tattoo world and all those other great things. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.